Hello, everybody.
And welcome to the
Artist, wife, writer, husband show. Podcast, yes.
Yeah.
We're going to get it right one of these days.
Yeah. Starring me, artist, wife, Midnight.
And me, writer, husband, Neff.
Not starring
MDC. Yeah, I told him to take off tonight.
You got to break this
clock out.
Because today is a very special episode.
It's our Valentine's Day
episode.
Yep.
The hubby came up
episode
with the idea. I don't know.
12.
Really?
12. Yeah.
12. I can't say the next part. But yeah. So with that, we're going to talk about lovey-dovey stuff. So get used to it. Suck it up.
No, I'm so sorry. Episode 11. Oh, my bad. Because, yeah, episode 11.
Yeah, you'll know the number. The number will be on the podcast.
Yes, episode 11. Yes.
Oh, my God.
Sorry.
We're going to talk about...
I'm living in the future.
How much we love each other.
Well, we're going to talk... Yeah, we do. But no, seriously. We're going to talk about our experiences being in a relationship, being creatives and whatnot, and working on a project.
And being married as creatives.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't necessarily have to get value from this episode. You don't have to be married, right?
I like being
you can
married.
be in a relationship too.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that comes definitely with its pros, but it's also come with its cons too.
I mean, creating and being in a relationship with another creator, and then you guys have this created baby together. Also you have babies, but that's a whole nother field. Well, don't worry about the actual baby part. But like having these projects together, those comes with a lot of their own pros and cons, as does anything in life. And we're gonna talk about them. At least we're gonna talk about ours. So let's get to it.
Right. So where do we start?
So, Neff, you and I have been we've been dating for
a long time.
More than a decade.
Yep.
And we have a lot of creative ideas spanning that entire decade. Not even like on and off. There might be like 1 month stint. But, our ideas have flown together and weaved together to where when you and I create and come together and brainstorm, we have the ability to bounce ideas off each other and just keep the flow going.
Right. And that's a definite pro.
Yeah, it is a good pro.
I want to say also, like, one of the pros is that with being in a relationship with another creator is, I think, having like different expertise, different fields of expertise. Because obviously I'm the writer
and I'm the artist. I mean, and we share that, right? Because you do artistry as well, and I.
No, I don't.
Yes, you don't. You don't play that. Yes, you do.
I'll say this. I used to. I have a very sad backstory. I don't think we have time to go into it, do we? No.
Yeah. Go into your sad backstory.
Yeah. So.
I'll still cry.
I want to say before, like, I got into art, got into drawing things way back when probably 3-4 years old. Like, the first thing I ever drew was the Ninja Turtles.
So cute.
My mom, she was, proud. I colored inside the lines and whatnot. And, she always hung it up. She hung it up. She dated it and whatnot. And from then on, like, the rest is history, right? I wasn't a big comic book reader growing up. Yeah. But, like, superheroes, like, it was weird. Like, I did superheroes, but I did me, my little brother and, our cousins had superheroes, right?
Yeah.
And, I was doing more than just drawing. I was also putting them in stories in books. So like, from a young age.
3 journals of those things.
So from a young age, like, that was my, experience. Like, I wanted to be, I had said, like in my head, a cartoonist. But, it was the writing and drawing, like doing both of them or whatnot. And as I got older, my art skills got better, of course, with time and whatnot. And it was mainly leaning towards cartoon stuff, like American cartoons. Right. It didn't have its like a specific style. Yeah. It was my style and whatnot. And you want to ask me things that I drew, I remember I had like this one character that was it was a dinosaur, right? A baby dinosaur, had a long shirt, that covered his legs and whatnot. All you could see was his shoes and whatnot. Long sleeve shirt, just his shoes and whatnot, and walk around and used to get into all this trouble.
Unlike that other character.
And whatnot. I forgot what I called it though. And then as I got older, I got into I fell into Sonic and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
So I ended up creating character based off of that called Max. Was
Max,
just like a
that's his name, yeah.
green rabbit and whatnot. I just totally ate up the whole Sonic thing. Like, yeah.
It was cute. It's cute.
And then around that, I want to say that was like during high school, right? And around that time, I had I had found out about anime. Like my art teacher, freshman year, he introduced me to anime. And I say introduced, even though I seen anime before, yeah. I just didn't know what it was.
Right.
Like I used to watch, of course, Pokemon.
Yeah.
Digimon. Probably like literally one of the first anime cartoons to really, get big over in America. Samurai Pizza Cats. Like I remember that.
I
right?
don't, but I've seen it. It exists. And it's just like, I didn't. The same way for me. I didn't know that a couple of them were anime. They were cartoons. They were, sometimes they had different funny voices.
Yeah, it was just like weird looking cartoons. Yeah, like I didn't know really like.
Never seen them look so.
Always thought that anime was kind of perverted in a sense because. During that time, Adult Swim, they were showing Inuyasha and whatnot. And it was like whenever I watched Adult Swim, there would always be like some naked chick on it and whatnot. And I was just like, virgin eyes, like I don't want anything to do with this and whatnot.
I want everything to do with it.
I guess to add context, I came up in very Christian household. Like we went like a good 3-5 years easy without cable TV. And that wasn't even because we were Christians. That was because like the service just sucked. Like they kept sending people out to our house that didn't know why they were coming to our house. And they'll be like, okay, we'll send someone else.
The sad thing is?
My dad just,
that's still the case. Like even though it's been like probably like 20 years.
Oh yeah, it's still the same company. It's still the same company, Verizon.
We had a guy
before it was Jones Communications, and they were bought out by Verizon, and it's still the same thing.
Yeah, it's still the same thing. Hilarious because same scenarios.
Oh, my bad. Wait, hold on. Did I get
Verizon,
that right?
But you meant Comcast?
Comcast. I think I meant Comcast. Because Verizon got Bell Atlantic.
I don't know why you have that knowledge.
Yeah, I'm too. I don't know. I'm old, but I'm not old. Like that was like one of the biggest things, right? They said for millennials, like we've seen the dying of, of technology, and whatnot, and like the beginning of the birth of one too, and whatnot. So it's like,
I was telling the kids about landline phones when you had showed them your parents' house phone.
Dude, that was priceless. Our daughter, Jaden, I don't even know what brought up the conversation, but my parents, they still, got a house phone and whatnot, and I showed it to her, and I dialed my number, right, on the house phone, and then I showed it calling my cell phone, and she was just like amazed. She was like, "Wow, I can use this as a phone," and I just broke out laughing. Like, that would be the case there.
That is his primary function. You were like, that's all you can do with it.
But then it was like, because her next question was like, can I text with it? And I'm like, no, it's just a phone. All you doing is just calling, just calling and talking. She tried to run with
it too upstairs, and I had to tell her like, that's not gonna work upstairs, and she just looked so devastated. Like,
why you laughing at that girl? It wasn't a wired phone. It had it was wireless. It would have worked upstairs.
It would have probably worked upstairs. But
it would have worked upstairs.
I told her there were some of them that we had that you couldn't even go on the porch.
Oh, you couldn't go too far.
It starts getting
okay.
She was just like, well, why would you have this? I was like, bro, that's all we had.
Yeah.
But we saw that, we grew up through that,
Right, yeah. So like I said, to bring it back, I came from a Christian household, so there was there was a lot of cartoons though during that time before we ended up giving up cable that I couldn't watch. I couldn't watch Pokemon because my family they were like, it was too violent. I couldn't get into. I couldn't continue reading Harry Potter. I had got into Harry Potter, likewise for Pokemon. I had to, give up all that stuff. Like it was just, Between the Lions and Arthur and Dragon Tales. And whatnot. So, one thing that they did, let me do was the Sonic comics throughout that. So that was a big influence on me and on my style. So
I don't know why Sonic was okay.
I don't know. I guess they
just didn't look inside of it.
Like it wasn't blood or anything. Yeah. Like it wasn't like really violent and whatnot. And I mean, for the most part, it wasn't. It was still a kid's comic.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And whatnot. Definitely had it was the longest runs too of a video game character and whatnot with Archie Comics. I haven't really been in the IDW part of it, but as a collector, I still want to collect it. I just haven't really gotten around to doing it, so I got like a few issues and that's it.
A few is not the case. Wait,
no, for IDW.
Oh, okay, because he's got like
I got a bunch of Archie and whatnot.
A lot of the Sonic comics.
Keep trying to talk to our friend Darren. He got issue 1 on his wall and whatnot. I think I think the earliest comic I got is like 3 or 5. But yeah, anyway, I digress. So that was an influence until I met my art teacher, and he told me about anime. And one of the beautiful things about anime for me was the reason I drew anthropomorphic characters was because I was not comfortable or confident in drawing people and whatnot. Like when it came to the face, just horrible.
I don't know
and
how
whatnot.
You
like the nose and whatnot, it was just horrible. Oh no, don't get me wrong. Sometimes like that jump, like especially with the dinosaur, it was always side profile. It was always side profile.
Fair, yeah.
Maybe 3/4. Full on, that was It looked weird.
It looked kind of
It looked weird.
Snake face.
But he showed me anime, and the first thing I noticed was how like the expressions, the face expressions and whatnot. I was like, yo, it seemed like there wasn't, of course there's still rules to it, but for the most part, it was like the nose was literally like a
little diamond,
little angle.
Yeah,
right.
Just like
like a little, like a little right angle.
We're doing hand gestures.
And
yeah, it was like a little right angle. Is that
and whatnot, and the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And the eyes were. Sorry, we got our daughter in the studio, and by studio I mean living room.
She don't know how to go sleep with everybody.
Fake
else.
it till we make it. Say no, but yeah. So seeing all of that, I was like, yo, so I can draw people, and I want F up on the faces. So I drew like one of my first anime characters. His name was Andre. And
you might know him.
Definitely a staple. Like you're gonna see him. Of course he's changed because this was literally like my story back in high school.
Yo,
it had to change. Probably not, but but y'all definitely will see him. Check out Instagram. I think you got comics.
I spam. Andre.
Yeah.
I think that's my favorite story.
You'll definitely see him.
I don't know, favorite story.
It's my baby, definitely.
Yeah.
And whatnot. It had to go through a lot of changes though. Shout out to other creators that I worked with that made me realize that.
Yeah. Talk about that too. I mean, we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
The same. We've had the discussion. It's very important.
Yeah, I think that was
like the one before last.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to do it, even if it's your baby.
Yeah.
If you really love it, you'll tear it apart.
Kill it.
But you'll give it a chance to grow. Sometimes you gotta break the ground and let it grow.
Yeah, and I definitely did that. But so anime was like a bittersweet thing for me. It was like, I learned that, and it's like boom. I wanted to work on my anatomy and stuff like that.
You had a lot of anatomy books.
Not me. No, I wasn't allowed to buy them. Pages. Oh yeah, that's the only way I could do it.
Sorry, you had some printed out pages.
Man, I remember showing my dad one of the how to draw manga books. Manga, right?
Yeah,
was it manga or anime? Manga. Yeah, manga. How to draw manga and whatnot. And he just flipping through the pages. Like I think we were in Walden bookstore. He was just flipping through the pages, and he was like, "Yo, why do they gotta be naked? Like they had like the schoolgirls. Like I think it was like the fighting one, and like they had like the schoolgirl and the Sailor Scout. Yeah, but they was topless, and it's like, but why they get? He's like, well, to show you how to draw it, because like." Well, one of the things that I eventually learned, like going from off a picture or just the clothes, like it really doesn't provide a lot of understanding to the anatomy. So you got to know, and even still, like how to draw manga books probably even worse because they just unrealistic female proportions, and whatnot. He was against it. He was against buying it and whatnot. It was expensive, and he didn't. The nudity wasn't really going for him either. So I just scans. Like I found out like people had scanned it,
you could do that,
and I was just printing like crazy the pages. Like I probably had like 50, 60 pages worth of content,
paper folder of it,
and whatnot. Hey, but high school.
I want to say this. When I met him, our art friends that he's about to talk about, I'm sure, because we're getting to that part, used to call him the Adobe Don.
Well, I used to call myself the Adobe Don.
But they would say that to me, like, oh, you need to see the Adobe Don, and we'll get into that.
Right, but no, yeah, that's a big thing, because when the first time because during that time, too, when I first found out about anime, I had one of my father knew this gentleman that worked out in Hollywood that did special effects, and he would tell him whenever he see him that I was into comics and doing comics and stuff like that. And I started drawing on the computer. Like I found out about Paint,
MS Paint.
Yeah, Microsoft Paint, and that came from there's like so much, but that literally came from watching an episode on like I think it was like the Discovery Channel kids. Of these kids, and they went into Todd McFarlane's Todd McFarlane's they went to Todd McFarlane's studio and whatnot, and was watching him work on Spawn and whatnot.
I didn't even know that about that part. Wow.
And I saw for the first time someone drawing on a tablet where what they was drawing on was showing up on the computer screen, and I was just blown. I was literally blown because I didn't know that's how people did it. Like I was over here looking for like a certain like paper that matched the texture of like a comic book, because I thought that's what I needed to draw on to be able to make my own comic books.
You were thinking way more ahead than I was. I'm over here, a little hillbilly Texas. From the barrio side, just like I just need some lined paper or maybe some white paper. Some white paper, it's all over for you.
I was looking for like newsprint paper and stuff like that, and but so I saw that episode, and I told my parents, and and they got me they went out, they got me
bless their heart.
I do not know how to pronounce this company's name.
Oh yeah,
like I heard of Wacom. And I heard of Wacom from like the people in Best Buy. So like I feel more comfortable saying Wacom. Maybe it's Wacom. I don't know. Wacom, but they got me. Yeah, they got me my first pen tablet. Like it was small 4x6 junk, blue and whatnot, and I loved it. Because then eventually the gentleman that I was talking about, he gave my dad a copied version of Adobe Photoshop 6, and
6.
of course I shared the wealth. Like,
Yeah.
like my two closest friends at the time, they also did art and whatnot. I was like, I showed them the stuff that I did when I did Andre, because I colored him in digitally, and they were like, wow, how you did this. And I was like, Adobe Photoshop. And I
Yeah.
passed them on the CD.
Literally
They installed it on
spread
their
within
thing,
our group.
because
Yeah.
they would just come over. Like, they would draw stuff, right? They would draw stuff, ink it, and then just come over to my house at times, and then I'll just scan it. Like, I had the like all-in-one printer, copier, scanner.
Yeah.
Just scan the junk onto the computer, and then I'll just sit there and just color it. Like, they just tell me what color, and I'll just sit there and color it. I have the tablet out and everything. And yeah, we would just meet like every Friday
They just so
and do that
too. Yeah.
and whatnot. And
You definitely
so
saw a glow up in the guy style too when you started doing that,
yeah,
because they started getting really heavily.
because you
into
had to
coloring
you
their
had to
works.
make sure you connected stuff and whatnot,
Yeah.
and your pencil lines couldn't be too sloppy either.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was dope. It was definitely a dope time. But as I said, it was bittersweet. It was bittersweet because I was learning all this stuff off the on the internet about drawing, and I found out about DeviantArt, and that's when, like, that demon of comparing yourself to others
Yeah.
came through. And though I was making progress, looking back on it now,
Yeah, you were.
I wasn't. I just never felt like it was good enough. So ultimately, I think when I was like maybe 21 or 22, I just stopped altogether. I was like,
Yeah, because we
I'm
got
just gonna
sketchbooks
focus
together.
on writing.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna. I was like, I'm just going to. It's the ice machine.
Dang it, Sean.
I'm just going to focus
ice
on writing, and I kind of gave up on drawing. And at that time, I also met you, love. I met you, and I totally love your style. And I told you about Andre's comic, Nephilim the Vampire Hunter.
Oh man, I fell so hard for all the characters, and your friends, which became our friends, they were. Sorry, pretty sure you just heard me loudly. So, I had already started to see Neff draw his characters, and they had a universe together called Heaven and Hell Universe, and everyone drew each other's characters. And Neff the Vampire Hunter, which I don't want to say had the most solid story at the time, but everyone flocked around your story. I just want you to know all of them had drew your characters. The Sam had got drawn a lot. There was different variations of Rita.
Yeah, they liked it, and
I jumped in and was like, I love it.
I was like, yo, can you draw this for me? I'll write it, and you draw it.
That was terrifying when you asked me that. I always want you to know. If there's one thing I always remember, it was the fear of me saying yes. Not because I was scared to do this project with you, but I was scared of ruining your baby. I was because I didn't have confidence in my skill whatsoever, but I was really passionate about you, and really passionate about the story. Once you had sat down and I don't know if you remember, but one time we were on the phone, and you just went deep into the lore of all the characters and whatnot. And I was trying hard not to fall asleep because I had a bedtime back then. Bedtimes, sleep schedules. Am I right? And you went through all of it, all the character arcs, almost all the characters arcs. I'm pretty sure that spanned a couple of nights, but that definitely solidified for me, like, the love of this story. And yeah, I'm gonna say yes. If you ask me to draw them, I'm gonna say yes, because I wanna. I had already shown you during that same time, Dare the Hunt. I'm pretty sure you saw. I'm pretty sure.
You mean Dare the World?
Dare the World. Yes, Dare the Hunt is what it is now. Well, yeah, what it is now. It's still Dare the World, but second part. I'd already shown you, I'm pretty sure, those old comics of Dare the World when it was like, look, I have a story too, coming in like a little nerd to the group.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember those days.
I want to share a memory, but I'm gonna let you go ahead.
Yeah. So that
I still encourage
Yeah,
him to draw.
I used to do art. Yeah.
Yeah, I still encourage
I
him
was
to
trying
draw.
to like literally remember what was the point of all of that.
It's sad because I kind of watched it too. I saw
Yeah.
the decline.
Ultimately, now like, because that was like a good 9 years, maybe a decade
Yeah,
ago.
about the turn of the decade. Yeah.
I definitely regret it and whatnot. So to anyone that's listening, like, don't
Yeah,
don't do that. Don't compare yourself to others.
Don't drop the thing you care about.
Because like for a lot of those people, they didn't come out the womb like that.
Yeah.
And whatnot, creating like that. Then that goes for everyone and whatnot. Like talent only gets you so far.
Yeah.
Everything like talent just means that you just had a natural affinity
Yeah,
to
exactly
it.
what I was gonna say.
But for anyone, if they want to see that grow to to be more, it takes practice. It takes practice and it takes time.
Yeah.
So definitely do not give up on that.
Yeah.
Do not just keep on pushing. I don't have many regrets in my adulthood life, but that's definitely the main regret because I can only think about if I would have just stuck to it when I was 18, 19, and not let the other people artwork discourage me. Like, yo, I can only imagine, where I would be at.
Yeah. Yeah, for real. Because it's like you had a head start on me. You definitely had a head start on me. I didn't know anything about digital works. I thought that was something that I would never obtain. And then we got our first computer, like our home. Well, we've had that computer, but I didn't know I could do stuff with that computer until you showed me MS Paint. I was working with the mouse, and then we worked towards getting a Wacom tablet, and then eventually got Photoshop, and then it was just like whole new door opened up to where it took me some time, and I was definitely going to give up, and I kind of did a little bit on digital art because it was just so complicated. It was a whole new thing. I'm not even good at traditional art, let alone digital art. So I just focused on traditional, and then now, like, it took some time, but I was like, no, I know what's the problem. The problem isn't the medium. The problem is I lack the learning. I wasn't working on anatomy. I didn't know about the basics. I never bought the how-to books. I was so interested in just creating, which I was very impatient. Pretty much me.
Because definitely, I say like you just especially man when you see people with very stylistic styles.
Yeah.
But very creative styles and whatnot. You're just like, man, I want to draw like that.
Yeah.
And whatnot.
And
but literally, they started from the basics.
Yeah.
And whatnot. All of them start from the basics, and that can literally be, I feel like, applied to anything that you want to do as a creator. Is just study the basics first. Excel at that.
Can I say? Yeah. Your writing style has exploded when you started to buy more research books or how-to books on writing, how to write dialogue, dramatica, how to create plot outlines. There's a lot of this stuff on the internet now, but sometimes for me personally, having the book on hand too is great because it's nice to have it in your hand and to feel it physically, even if it's on my phone. But I definitely saw a huge explosion in your writing when you decided that you're going to be a writer. And then you literally you went to the books. You hit the books. You were writing. You were doing what you cared about, but you were also studying all of that too. My bad. Yeah, I want to say, if anybody out there who's interested in this part of the story, how did we become the creative writing team that we are, the creative team that we are today? I'll tell you how. I was washing dishes, and ugh, at the time was my ex boyfriend's house. But I mean, at that point, we were just like friends, just flying quotation marks. And I was staying. Well, I was staying there because I didn't want to go back home because my dad was I was enjoying the freedom. I was living there. I was working, and I was washing the dishes. And Neff, being friends with the people in the house, because there's our group of friends, he came over. He came downstairs, and as I'm washing dishes, he was like, "Hey, you wanna hear this story I'm working on?" And I knew that you created, of course, before that, but up until that point, you hadn't yet shared with me those stories. And, and yeah, so I listened. He told me the story about Uza, Uza the undead, and like this battle between him and one of his main OCs, May Neff.
I remember that.
Yeah, that moment. I have pretty bad memory, but that moment is still like very bright in my mind. I loved listening to it. I liked reading it. He would tell me about the characters themselves, and Uza belonged to one of our friends, his best friend at the time, and just having them clash against one another, and I was just wowed because I'd never met a writer before. Met a lot of creators, never met someone who like actually earnestly put a lot of work into writing the character versus just drawing the characters out. And then that's what I kind of discovered about the rest of his friends that later on became my friends is that they put a lot of work into the character's personality too. It's not just a draw thing. They have mega expensive backstories that sometimes now that I look at it was a little bit too much. But
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I fell in love. Fell in love with like the guy who sat at the table while I washed the dishes and just told me about his world. And I asked for more. And he kept giving me more. And I was like, yay, I love this. So that's my favorite. And probably one of the first memories I have of us like talking about our stuff together.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yay.
So that kind of takes back to the original point.
Yeah.
How we got onto that.
Yeah.
So where I was saying that we have different expertise. At the same time, ultimately I was an artist 1st, right? And with Midnight, she's a writer too. Like she said, she came to me with her own stories and whatnot, and she still creates stories. She still work on stories. So I think that's a pro for us, because even though that's not like an our
expertise,
right,
like writing isn't my
even though that's not what we're more skilled at, we can help each other. Like she bring me some of her artwork, and she might be like, like, what do you think about this?
Oh yeah, and he's helped me a lot with it.
And like
so grumpy about it too.
If it's like an issue with anatomy, I can just pinpoint it right there, or something with the perspective. Like I still got that artist's eye and whatnot, and
photo references.
Even though she might not sound like it on here, she's really good at grammar and whatnot. So I definitely have her look through my stuff and whatnot, and proofread it. And I'll come to her and I'll be like, like, do you think this is like too cliche or whatnot? I definitely, I really value her opinion, and it's definitely valuable seeing that we also have that background and whatnot. But we just choose to, I choose to have writing as the forefront. But I definitely do want to get back into drawing. Like one of my dreams and one of my goals is to have a project that I write and I draw myself.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, because I mean, right now for the story I'm working on, Dare to Hunt, I'm writing everything myself. Best believe, 100%, Neff is gonna be there throughout the entire writing process, because it's very, anything that's worth doing is hard. So
yeah,
that's where I'm at.
And whatnot. And
but I enjoy writing it.
I'm not sure if we talked about this in a previous podcast, but I mean, like, if we haven't, we will and whatnot, because like you have like you want to do things perfect and whatnot, and that's why I said not to give up with art and whatnot, not to get discouraged, to focus on the basics, and, until you become skilled at it. And I made sure not to say perfect because I don't believe in perfection.
Yeah, same.
And whatnot. That would be like a road that you're always going to try to obtain and whatnot.
It's like never.
You just literally just got to do your best.
Yeah, never lean towards perfection. Don't fall back on your imperfections. Don't use your imperfections as an excuse because that was something that I did a lot.
Yeah, I'm definitely not giving you permission to half-ass it. Oh yeah, you definitely hear that.
No, don't say that.
You definitely hear that. Like, yo, this is my style and whatnot. This is just how I draw it, and it's like, yo, like.
Yeah, but you
it
can
looks
draw that
off. Like her back looks broken,
Those movies don't gotta be like that, you know it.
Like
Anna.
it looks painful, and it just calls right out to the eye and whatnot. And a lot of people, that's another thing.
Myself included.
Like, if you're gonna put yourself out there on the internet for the purpose of constructive criticism, and then you're gonna get offended when you receive such criticism, even when it's constructive, because I can, I totally understand there are a-holes out there that just comment and don't.
They don't have anything constructive to say.
No, yeah, they don't help you help you towards gaining a solution and whatnot. Like, just say something like you saying, "This looks off."
Yeah, it
doesn't
really
help me.
You're just pretty much
okay, I've kind of had a feeling it might be off. That's why I came to you guys in the first place.
Or if you're just posting just to post it. I mean, do know there are going to be people on there who are going to give their unsolicited opinions.
Yeah.
And
advice. That's true.
You're allowed to tell them, of course, no criticism. But also do know that when you do that, you are shooting yourself in the foot. I'm going to be honest. I don't hope that it doesn't sound mean or a-holish, but you are kind of shooting yourself in the foot if you constantly close the door on any type of criticism.
Right.
There's always going to be something that you need to hear, even if you don't need to hear it.
Yes,
the trolls, they're going to say what they're going to say, but there are genuinely people out there who are like, hey, I like that. The lighting looks a little off here, this, that, and the third. Have you tried these references? Bam. Those are the best things. Those are the best people, the ones that tell you what's wrong and then give you references.
Yeah.
People want to help each other. Honestly, I've met a lot of people, especially in art groups or in any group, because I'm in writers groups too.
People that want to help you and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because for the most part, we've been in your shoes and whatnot.
Yeah.
Especially with me with writing and stuff. I see people and they get way far, and to be honest, I envy that.
Yeah.
Because I do let a lot of my self-doubt still, even being 31 and whatnot, a lot of the voices from back when I was 20 still there and whatnot. I want to say I'm at least stronger now, where I can ignore it, or I won't even say ignore it because it's still giving it power. Just face it and move past it. I'm able to do that now. But yeah, it's I see people, and they do great work in the sense of like they complete it.
Yeah.
And that definitely helps. Doing things to completion. But it's also important to kind of look back, right?
Yeah.
To look back at the stuff or get honest opinions to like, I finished this comic, I finished this novel. What do you think? Like, what's your honest to goodness opinion from someone who, like really wants to see you grow and whatnot, and just won't tell you any BS to blow your head up.
Right.
Like, I think like it's really important to have that because like I was saying, I see people's work and I'm like, like you're really good on the art side. This is in response to comics and whatnot, but you maybe could have like done better with writing.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot of plot holes or
not
tropes, cliches, and stuff like that. Or the dialogue just didn't really feel believable.
Yeah.
And whatnot, and like, definitely don't want to. I don't want to discourage people, but sometimes it feels like, and no offense with artists that do have, that do write and do the art.
Yeah.
That they take advantage of the writing part. Like they go totally in on the art part and they show it, right? They show it on social media. I got this anatomy book. I got this perspective book. how to do wrinkles.
Look
like
at all
I'm
these
studying
pens.
all this stuff and whatnot.
Here are my brushes.
But when it comes to the art of storytelling, like you don't really hear anything about them. Like you don't see any books on creating characters. You don't see any books on doing dialogue, how to structure and plot. Like you don't really see any of that, and it shows because you have to put in that work into writing. If you're going to handle the writing instead of outsource it to someone who already put in that work, and whatnot, it's going to show. And sometimes art isn't enough to be able to carry the people's interest
and to make a good story. And that's what I was going to say. One of the biggest pros for us is that we're a team. We help each other, and where one of us lacks, we pick up on.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying that we lack it as
dig
if we
into
fail,
we dig into each other. Like we are like relentless.
Yeah,
like
we really are.
She showed me page of the one of the pages from the script, and I'm just like, no, this is shit. Start back over.
Okay, well then, no. I'm
joking.
He had this dialogue for this one character. She sounded so cheesy, and I hated it. And I'm just like, no, what? You're being serious? This is not for real. And he went through with it. I'm like,
for real.
100%. This is not real. I'm not. I don't like this. I don't like this. I want you to know I don't like this.
Hey, but I had people that said the same thing and whatnot. I was like, okay, yeah, maybe I need to calm down on it.
But you need that too. Even though we're a team, we do like to have an outside voice.
Yes,
because
outside voices are very important.
So important. Because sometimes, not always, because of how passionate we are about helping each other succeed, sometimes we can be each other's yes man, yes woman, Yeah. It might be like, yo, oh my God, this is perfect. But, it probably might not be perfect. There's no such thing as perfect.
But I would say that's a con, right? I would say that's a con.
The pro is that we're a team and that we can catch each other on some stuff. But the con is that sometimes
we get on each other's nerves.
Yeah,
like
we could gas each other up without proper criticism. That's what I was.
Oh no, I was going on like on what I said.
Nerves.
With like yeah.
We do, yeah. You have an idea for something that I want to do.
Yeah, I'm really like for my stuff, right? I'm really like
adamant.
Yeah, like I'm really big on keeping the integrity.
I'm big on that
and whatnot,
too.
And well, okay, let me explain.
I felt insulted.
So with that, I mean, like if I have a certain view of how I want like a scene to be played.
Oh yeah.
And whatnot, in my head, a scene to be drawn, and if it's not there, like 100%, like not anything where it's like 99.9. But if it's like, considerably off and whatnot, and it's like...
You'll tell me.
Like, it might be something where it's like, okay, this isn't in your skill level to draw just yet.
And then I want to punch him when he says that.
I would be like, this is good, but this isn't it.
Yeah.
And whatnot.
And I'll sit there like, well, the flow of this panel says that this would be a much better fit than the idea you have. And we sometimes will go back and forth on.
Yeah, we might butt heads.
Yeah.
With that, and
sometimes it's a give and take. Sometimes it's you. And
I want to say it's easy to take advantage of that because where like with me, I'm mainly doing writing for myself. Anna, she does commissions. So it's like, of course, for what we work on, we're not getting paid.
Yeah.
To do it. So yeah, it does.
Very valuable.
It does take time. Like if I was a client, you'll be like, pump your brakes. But for us, like I'm just like just draw it. Like like I'm not gonna back down on this.
He doesn't back down, and I'm just like. But I really believe, and yes, there are times when I do kind of want to not half-ass it, but I don't really want to follow through entirely on his vision.
But I want to say that definitely came from like our first project, like working on our first project.
What was that, Infernal Paradise?
Yeah. Issue 0.
Issue 0.
And we had very cool artists. Like you definitely, you can't wait for you guys to meet him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna be on the next episode.
Technically, he already would be on. We're in the future, babe. Future is now.
No, that's where I got confused because it's like, this is the next episode.
The Valentine's Day episode. 2
Yeah.
weeks ahead of Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Because we release every other week.
Oh, you're right. No, you're right. Yeah, my bad, guys. Y'all just broke the meta real quick.
Yeah, that's where I was getting confused at
We're
in
not
the
2 weeks
beginning.
ahead of Valentine's Day, I swear.
Because I was saying this was like episode 12, but it's like, no, this is literally the next episode.
Yeah, this is Valentine's weekend. It's totally Valentine's.
Yeah. We may or may not be recording this ahead of time.
But never know.
Full attentions. Happy Valentine's Day.
It's all lovey-dovey. Can you tell we love each other? And kick them.
But yeah, wonderful artist. And I had commissioned him, and I want to say he was like literally the first time I ever commissioned anyone and whatnot. And for a very no, just in general.
Really?
Like, yeah, that was like the first time I ever commissioned anyone. And it was for a very huge piece. It was for
an entire
like a freaking 24-page comic.
24,
well, not it's like 21 pages and whatnot, because we did like 4 pages of content, extra content. But yeah, I had it was definitely a learning experience.
Yeah.
And whatnot, because it was literally like, okay, boom, this is the script. Come back to us, here's the script. Like, I didn't even say like come back to us. I was used to working with Anna, where it's like literally, she hits me with a page as soon as she finishes it. But like the next time I hear from him, he's like done with the pencils. So we're looking through it and whatnot, and I'm matching it up with the script. And, I make notes, right? Like, okay, because it seems like some stuff he decided to change, but it didn't really fit well with me.
Yeah.
And whatnot. And like, it's kind of embarrassing admitting this, but when we came back and whatnot, I noticed that the changes still weren't made. But, I was just like, screw it. This has happened long enough and whatnot.
Yeah.
Well, this, because it was like 6 months later, and I just paid for it.
Yeah.
I paid him for it, and it sucked because me and Midnight, we was working day and night because we was trying to get this out before Free Comic Book Day that year.
Because all it was pencils, right?
And whatnot, it was pencils. So we had to do the coloring and we had to do the lettering and whatnot.
Coloring.
And his style is very unique style, but it was a lot of incomplete lines. So that literally meant like, it wasn't no, paint bucket. It was like just straight up, and some was just getting like it was a very rough. It was a very rough pencil to deal with. It was different from when I would work with Anna stuff, who had a more complete style.
Yeah, I know.
And whatnot, and
heavy-handed.
Back when she used to do traditional pencils.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still pretty heavy.
Digital all the way.
Yeah, boy. I mean, my ink lines, I still look at them. Ink lines. My line art digitally, I still look at it like, what if I could draw lighter?
But I feel like that's like mainly your brush though. Like maybe you need to find a better.
Well, remember I tried to do it with a thin
something.
brush, and you were like, "Yeah, no, don't do." Remember I did the lines all one.
Oh no, I just mean like how you have certain artists, they release their brush packs.
Yeah,
like they design their brush. I just think you haven't found that right brush.
Possibly, I played with some, but I haven't really
for you specifically.
Yeah, and that's a confidence thing too. But I'll work on that.
So, like, totally not calling out.
It was still
Darren,
good work.
because it's like
We
when
still
you pay
produced it.
someone, you think that you did a good job and whatnot. It was definitely my fault. Has the leader of the project has the leader of the project for sacrificing the integrity of the project because I was not willing to be confrontational.
Yeah.
And whatnot, and that definitely could have ruined our friendship.
Possibly.
And whatnot. Because it was definitely a while before we talked again and whatnot. But, we're totally cool now. Like I said, he's going to be on next episode and whatnot. And we've grown a lot since then as creators.
Yeah,
too.
we reconnected like a couple of years back. It was one of those things where
it was a learning experience.
Yeah, it was.
Because like I said, we worked our asses off day and night to get that done and to finish it up. Like literally at the end, I'm just like, yo, this is missing a panel. Like this doesn't even make sense. So we literally had to go back to him and get him to draw like 2 more pages and whatnot, just so it could make sense.
Yeah, because we ended up finding out that some of the pages, it was like some panels.
Like it's like we can't work with this and whatnot. And so
there was a time where
so biggest other thing, right? Like make sure you do not sacrifice the integrity of your work.
Very important.
Like really don't. And then like the worst thing I want to say was the project itself. Like we had this big thing where it was like we were gonna do samplers and whatnot. So we chose to tell a story of our mascots and whatnot. Like she said at the time the company name was Heaven and Hell. So we had this angel and this demon mascot. Angel named Athena and the demon Ishta.
Yeah. They're still around. They're still kicking. They're still mascots. Maybe.
So we I was like,
we casted ourselves as the characters in the book as like the CEOs of Heaven and Hell.
Yeah. We basically used our personas because we all rock like a name, like how we do now.
Yeah.
Where I'm Neff.
Midnight.
There was Blue
Cassiel,
Angel.
Yeah, Blue L. Yeah.
Blue L.
Blue L.
Blue Angel. Spivey.
Madam,
Mr. Dark Kristen, Madam Scarlet.
Yeah.
And whatnot. So we went. Yeah, they weren't there. So we went.
At one point, we were many.
But literally, like when I tell you, like I spent the least amount of time on that script. I spent the least amount of time on that script. I literally just woo in less than a day came up with it. I don't really know if I really even proofread it like that, to be honest with you.
I can 100% tell you that there weren't any grammatical errors.
No, I mean like in the sense of like, not
original.
Proofread, just edit. I don't know if I really even edited it. Like I just stuck with the rough draft and just only did grammatical proofread.
Yeah, because that was literally when that comic came out. That was literally the beginning of 2013, 14. No,
that's definitely way too early.
Yeah, it was 2014, 2015.
Yeah, because Gabby was born when
16.
16, yeah, so it was 15.
Yeah. You had spent the first 5 years studying. You were getting you like 22. You were just starting to get more into your writing. Is what I meant.
Oh, okay, yeah. I definitely want to say I was
studying. Not studying, but like getting into your writing. So
the studying definitely came like after all of that.
Yeah.
And whatnot. So I want to say definitely from like 2016 to now.
Which is when I started studying, 2016. I went into like a little tiny break, hiatus, went underground.
Wait, you said she was born 2015, right?
2016.
2016, yeah.
I went underground and I started studying anatomy and all that stuff too, and because
I just really dived into it and whatnot.
We just go.
A lot of my stuff, it was like I didn't want to admit it, but it was really tropey, really cringy.
Not that cringy, but
no, it was really cringy.
A lot of the same voice syndrome that somebody told you that was the case.
No, it was cringy. Like remember Rita, Hispanic girl, had sailor school.
Oh, that was your fault, or was that one of the?
That was me. I drew that. What do you mean? One of the guys' fault?
Yo, I told you that was one of the guys' fault.
That was all me. Bro.
I never wanted to draw that. Just want you to know. I saw
that. Just this simple fact. Like, no offense to anyone out there that got a story with vampires, but just the simple fact that I was using vampires was cringy enough. Because during that time, we had so many vampires. Like, remember we went to the convention and you showed some of the pages to people, and they were like, "This is really good." But you should maybe change the title from Nephilim the Vampire Hunter and just drop the vampire and just change it to Hunter because, when people hear vampire back then, it's just like literally, you know, you roll your eyes like, oh, another vampire
Yeah,
story,
because there was so much Twilight,
so
Vampire
much
Hunter D,
IP,
Hellsing,
so much intellectual properties
Vampire Diaries. Yeah,
related
yeah.
to vampires.
So much
during that decade.
And we were so influenced by it, and we love supernatural stuff. We still are very much about supernatural stuff.
Right, but my biggest thing, if you remember, it was like
the vampire was only
it was like the first arc,
yeah.
And I was literally telling people like, yeah, I know it's about vampires, but don't worry, like stay for the second arc, because that's when it gets really good. And it's like, well, it was stupid because it was like, why wouldn't you lead with your best foot?
Right,
like,
exactly.
Like, yeah, I needed to basically destroy everything that I thought I knew about writing, to be able to start off anew. So yeah. With that said, the script for Infernal Paradise issue 0 was half-assed. It was a half-assed attempt in me telling a story, and I was really ashamed of it. Aww. Right. I was really ashamed of it, and it really wasn't until recently that I, just laid off the whole just being so hard on myself.
Yes.
And I'm just literally learning to, to like love myself and appreciate, the things that I did. Like we still put our effort into it. We did, me, you, Madam Scarlet with the cover.
Yeah.
She did the color for it. The one that did the pencils for it was
Tasha. No, that's
yeah, Tasha.
Okay, yeah.
And
another black creative.
Of course, Darren with the pencils and whatnot. Like it was still, it was good. It was good for its time, for our age and whatnot, because it was literally
out there.
All we could do at the time. Like we definitely did. See, because I want to say we did our best. Even though I just said it was a half-ass attempt.
We did
for where I am now and what I understand makes it a half-ass attempt.
But when we started out,
I don't look at myself and be like, man, I can totally just, write a script without thinking ahead. Because that was the biggest issue, right? When it came to actually doing, like, okay, what happens next?
Yeah.
Like, so imagine this. I'm driving up to the printer. I think we ordered like 40 copies.
Was it really 40? It was like 20. How many do we have?
Probably like 30.
Probably like 30.
30 copies, right?
We sold some.
And I opened up the package. I'm excited and whatnot, just ecstatic. But after that initial feeling ended, I'm literally, asking myself like, what now?
Yeah.
And one thing one of my friends that's a police officer told me was, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. And I didn't really have a plan other than we create these comic books, we sell them at conventions, because we had just started our relationship with All Way Alliance at the time. And then we give as much away as we can for free comic book day.
Oh, that was the goal at one time, free comic book day.
Like, we had the comic, we had business cards with the website on it, but we didn't even have the website.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
We didn't even have we had the domain name and everything.
We had the company. We
and I was working on the website, but it was like I was scared to just release it and whatnot.
We were always trying to figure out what's the best time, what's the best way.
Yeah, and
we never came up with anything, to be honest.
It was hard because we also didn't have anyone to really guide us. I'm not using that as an excuse or anything.
But it's very important. We talked about it before, having somebody in the field to mentor you.
Yeah.
You're not going to come out the womb knowing everything about this thing that you are going into.
Definitely.
Having a mentor is extremely
because I remember asking my dad, questions about LLC and, registering businesses and whatnot. And he told me straight up, there's nothing he can tell me because he never did it. He don't know anything about that. So there wasn't any wisdom that he could offer me on it and whatnot. Since then I've met successful business people, my mentors, James McDowell and
Shifu.
Sifu, and Antonio,
Sifu, yeah.
Antonio Hamilton. and Timothy Craigett
Yeah.
and whatnot. Really,
People who
really
have run businesses, finance
gave
their
priceless
business,
advice.
publish their works.
So that's definitely like the something for me you get from this episode. Like, find a mentor.
Yeah.
Man. Find a mentor that's really willing to help you and just drop words of wisdom on you and whatnot. It make things so much easier.
Yeah, exactly. And from me, we work on a team together. You're gonna have to listen to your teammates. You're gonna have to take that constructive criticism. Even if you feel like your teammate, doesn't know what he's talking about, he's not an artist. I've never had that thought from you, but I know people, somebody who is exclusively a writer, turn around and be like, "Don't make that face at me."
No, sorry, I wasn't making a face.
You would totally make it, but it wasn't a face I thought I was making. So now I just feel bad.
Okay,
Yeah, it was a weird.
like I mean, like
what? Why were you?
like I was making
right
I was making a face, but it wasn't. I was just like kind of lost in thought at the moment.
I was really wet for a second.
I feel totally called out.
I've seen creators go on Instagram or Facebook and be like, this story sucks. Nobody listens to me. They told me to do this and the third, but that doesn't make sense. And you could be right. Maybe the writer on their end doesn't understand from your perspective as a comic artist how to properly tell a story, and you're stuck drawing it because, hey, money, bro. You're not stuck drawing it, but if you're like me and, you got bills to pay, money. But at the same time, if the person's coming to you with real constructive criticism, like, hey, I like that you did that scene that way, but this is the way that it was going to lay out because the next scene was going to look like this, and we want the page to flow like this. You should really listen, give it a try. Draw the thumbnail at least. That's what got me through a lot of Neff's criticism, constructive criticism. I drew the thumbnail. As soon as I drew the thumbnail, I also am very stubborn, so it's like if I draw, this is my style, this is the way I do it. I had to get out of that. That's what I'm telling all of you guys, and I'm telling past me if I could. Get out of that. It's terrible. Don't get stuck in that. That's really bad as a creator. Period. That's really bad as a creator. To stunt your own growth. But also, draw the thumbnail. Even if it's like, it sucks because you got to draw these 3 panels again, you got to draw the whole page again. Just do a quick thumbnail, look it over, and then compare and contrast. Who knows? I've actually had that too. With my current commission that I'm working on, where I'm working on a comic. And the person would be like, oh, you know what, the scene I had in mind for it, this girl was looking this way and she was on this side of the panel. Very rarely did I have this, but when I drew what they drew, and then instead of deleting my file, saved it as 2 different files, was like, now here's the comparison. I feel like, to be honest, the way that you want this script to flow, her face being over here would be better because you want to keep her in the same side of the panel instead of having her flip back and forth. They agreed. You know what? You're right. Yeah, it doesn't make sense how Granny's over here on one side and suddenly she's over here on this side. Good point. It's like, yeah. Do that. It's extra work, but for your sake and your client's sake, you want to show them that you are an expert in your field, or that you can be.
Yeah, and I want to say that's something that we definitely learn from working with each other.
Yeah.
And whatnot, and getting upset with each other from our interactions, and like
valid
learning how to move on from that, because it's like we still continued the project and whatever. We just had to kind of get over it.
Yeah.
So I want to say, that definitely has helped you with some client issues.
Yeah, definitely.
That you
and also
ran into.
Hey,
it's toughing you up.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah. Also realizing, hey, you know what? Even though I see it this way, the creator has this can work too. Also, a lot of times when you're working on someone else's stuff, your opinion on a scene too, you have to realize that that's still an opinion. There is what would flow and work well for the story, and feeling that this is right, that you're right. And then there's also wanting to be right because it's your opinion, and you're going to have to like figure out which one is the one that's more important to the integrity of you as a content creator and the story that you're working on. Because this story isn't, even though it's not mine, it is mine. My work, my work is in it. Their story is because of me. You know what I'm trying to say? I don't know how to say it. Can you tell?
It's like
they could have went to any creator.
Okay.
No,
sorry.
Sorry, I was still thinking about it.
What I was going to offer. I mean, since you said that, I kind of
No, say it. You're something
threw a
better.
wrench in what
No,
I was going
I
to
was
say
probably
because
sounding horrible.
I thought you was going to say I thought you was going to say like they might have the journey laid out, but you're providing the vehicle, I guess.
Oh, that's better. Yeah. Just think of it that way. It's like I have to. I guess I'm trying to say just like that. I have to make sure that there's quality in this whatsoever because this is a piece of me I'm putting into this work.
Right, it's a representation of you.
Yeah, and my company, but of me as an artist. It's like I wouldn't have took on this project, this big project of creating a whole comic with somebody else, if I didn't care about it at all. I can't do that personally. I'm not. I won't do that either.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
If you like, if there's something that you're not really passionate about, don't do it.
Yeah.
And that's also leads to another thing because I might have story ideas that I feel really excited about, and just to have Midnight
I feel so
be
bad
like,
about it.
yeah, we got this other thing that we should be working with.
Yeah.
I can't get behind you
Yeah.
on this. Like, I'm sorry, but yeah, we got other stuff to be
Yo.
working on, and this is like, it's not ready. It's not ready to be a story. It's not ready to be worked on, and for anybody, it sucks having to be told no. So it's like, yeah, it's a hit to your pride, but it's definitely helped me, right? It definitely helped me.
It's like that itself is a pro and a con. Having to rein in your creative, partner, and then kind of dealing with the blowback of them being sad or depressed about it, because it is a bit sad having to do that, to be like, we can't do that, and seeing them fall into like a bit of sadness because they really, really, like, that's the train they're on. The train has already left, and it's like.
So I guess that's another
train,
pro.
Bro.
We can hold ourselves accountable.
Yeah.
And whatnot. We can hold ourselves accountable.
I do feel bad because it's just like, I'm sorry, babe, but no.
Yeah.
Four other things.
It's happened a couple times.
A couple. It's happened for the past 10 years. And not just for him, for me too.
Yeah.
Definitely for both of us.
One of the biggest struggles for me is definitely learning the spirit, gaining the spirit of completion, the spirit of finishing things, because like, the next story is just always going to look more grander and more interesting, and it's like you just want to just get started on that. But
yeah, or
like,
you're consuming something that reminds you of the story idea you got, and you just that's for me. Big thing for me.
If you just allow yourself to be kind of frivolous like that, you're never going to get anything done.
Yeah,
and whatnot.
As another pro is having somebody who understands the logical aspect of working together, besides just the dreaming and the creating together.
Like, what do you mean?
So I know couples, like we talked about the McDowells, or your mentor, and in their relationship you can see where his wife is the logical one, she's the more grounded one, realistic. I wouldn't say he's not logical, but and Mr. McDowell's definitely the dreamer. But they work together so well in a way. And there's others who you have a dreamer and you have a more grounded person, and I think those are good. I don't think it's bad to have two dreamers or two logical people. But for what we do with comics, I think it's really awesome to have someone who, when you're studying business and you're studying the aspects of working on stories and getting things done and making sure that this pricing for this matches that, so that we can see this come back. I can wrap my head around that, but I'm gonna need a lot more time. And you're just like, okay, I got it. I have these journals. I've already written it down. I've done my study work. Let's put into practice. And I'm over here still writing the first line. Like, no lie. It's like, okay, you got it? You're good? All right, because I'm going to go draw it. So while you got it, I'm going to draw it. But he holds me accountable to that, too.
So, yeah, definitely. So the advice from that would definitely be just doubling down on your strengths.
Yeah.
And whatnot. Knowing what you're good at and whatnot. Because, there's, other things aside from artwork that Midnight's good with. And same with me, like she said, for like business as well, the business aspect of it too.
Dude,
Because you gotta think about, you creating a comic book, like, the marketing plan, all that stuff. That's something that you definitely want to think about as an indie artist, right? As an indie company and whatnot. You just really you don't have any agents or whatever, or a publisher that's just waiting for it. Yeah, you gotta think about that. You gotta take into consideration and whatnot.
You start researching on where the best places to print to go.
Yeah, and I used to pester Midnight about learning that stuff on her own, but like I can definitely tell you that's just like not one of her interests.
It's not. I tried. And I still kind of do try.
I look at that as a strength. Like that's something like I'm very interested in.
Yeah,
and whatnot.
It's cool that you
Learning marketing techniques, and just how to sell and whatnot.
He's literally bought books, and like we go to the library, and he's literally gotten library books on it. And I'm over here in the fantasy section, like, but that's what you're getting. And then he'll glare at me, and I'm just like, okay.
But yeah, and what I take from that, I try to break it down into concise notes and information that I can pass on to Midnight that she can
absorb and eat.
And implicate.
Yes.
And whatnot when she's at conventions or whatever. So it's not like her boring herself reading that information. It's like I'm reading that information for her on her behalf to help benefit the both of us.
Yeah, and another thing too, that's not a way of me getting out of the responsibility of it. Our learning curves are completely different. I have never really figured out my own learning curve, but I kind of realized that the way you do it and the way you learn things, it's not the same. So when you're working on a team together, you're going to have to realize each other's strengths and weaknesses, and ultimately each other's learning curves. I can't absorb information like that and spit it back out. I'm one of those people where I guess I just kind of, like I need to chop it up, and then step by step keep reading it until like something clicks, something understands. And I can't get frustrated when I don't get it,
Right. Yeah.
Because I used to get hard on myself. I used to be really hard on myself that I couldn't be like you, that I couldn't, this is the business. I want to be a business owner too. I want to run a company. And I used to get really, really down when my studies would end up with tears on the paper, and I would have ink smudges that made no sense because I couldn't read what I just wrote because my handwriting's terrible. When I typed it up, my eyes would start hurting, and I couldn't. Everything I just learned yesterday, right out the window, right out the other ear.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized that, hey, the way I'm doing it isn't right for me. I gotta do this a different way.
I mean, and like you literally have successful business owners, right, that are just all into the creation part. But when it comes to math, like doing the numbers and stuff, they're just like horrible at it and whatnot. So it's totally understandable. Like, you have some people that might be like, you got to feed into your weaknesses. You got to learn your weaknesses and you got to work on them. But like when you really think about it, you work on your weaknesses, it's only going to make you subpar at least.
Yeah.
And whatnot. When you work on your strength, you can just go so far with just doubling down on that, just your strengths, because you're already strong at it, so it makes sense that you'll see the quicker results with that and whatnot, instead of trying to spread yourself thin, trying to become mediocre in things that you're weak at.
Yeah, something you have no interest in, something that makes you frustrated, something that it doesn't in no way saying that you should never work at your weaknesses, but if you're not getting any pleasure, or if you're not enjoying this, it's not a passion of yours, you're just making yourself do it because you think that you got to do this solo, you got to be the well-rounded person, just know that you're going to be only a well-rounded person.
Right.
You're not going to be, you're stunting your growth.
It's going to be like a jack of all trades, right? Yeah, and that's something we don't really want to do.
Yeah, and that's the importance of working on a team and then building upon that foundation towards a company, hiring people whose strengths are opposite of yours. Not opposite, I guess, but your strengths cover for your weaknesses.
Yes.
I want somebody, for me as a creator, I would love somebody to do backgrounds for me. I'm not passionate about backgrounds.
And we had conversations about this.
We had
turn into disagreements and
Yeah.
sometimes heated arguments because I'm like just learn the backgrounds, just learn the backgrounds.
I can.
But I mean, you definitely have gotten good
Yeah.
since the beginning.
Because I didn't want to give up completely on myself
with it. But it's like now I understand. Like, okay, no, this totally makes sense. We want to try to get these comics out as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So if
like
you're struggling on the background, then yeah, let's get a layout artist. A background artist. Yeah.
There are people who are passionate about that, who are only passionate about backgrounds.
Yeah.
That's all they care about.
Yeah.
Doing.
Yeah, just
sure,
get someone like that. That's what they're good at. Boom, get them.
Yeah, you love drawing sceneries and cityscapes and landscapes and outer space, stuff. I'll hire you.
Yeah, that's not even like rhetorical. Like she literally means that.
I will hire you. Please
contact us. Like if that's what you're
comics,
into.
I need to get to work
contact us. Social media. You know us. Artist, wife, writer, husband.
Scrap punk and dark fantasy. I need some cityscapes. Guys, drawing buildings sucks. I hate lines. I hate lines. I'll do it.
So now here's like the biggest topic and whatnot. And I don't want to end it on a negative note, but this is definitely something that we probably missed. What we did definitely miss is
what was that?
Being in a relationship and going through relationship problems.
Oh yeah,
like disagreements or arguments that doesn't have to do with the art, right?
Yeah, but
or
affected heavily.
Breaking up, breakups. How do you deal with that? And whatnot, and I'm not like, well,
we're not really
I'm asking for your opinion because I'm actually asking for your opinion because we both have had experiences like that. There was a stand in our relationship where we did break up, and
it affected our
that basically came at the end of Infernal Paradise, and whatnot, and it was definitely hard. It was hard to definitely come back on and whatnot. And of course, spoiler alert, we got back together.
Woohoo, we even got married. Woo.
But that isn't the case for everybody.
Yeah.
So it's like if you're working on a story with a loved one and you guys go through a breakup, like how do you, like, what do you do? Like is it like a divorce thing?
Where you like
you get 50-50.
Yeah, right.
You take the plot, I take the characters.
Because at that time we were, like you talked about, we just finished Infernal Paradise. Andre's week. I was very, very sad. Like one of the things that really hurt was that I would no longer be able to work on
right, and that wasn't even Andre's week. That was
sorry, I said Andre's week. That's what it is now.
The Nephilim the Hunter. Yeah. I can tell you during the breakup I couldn't even like really focus on that story.
I didn't work on that
because it just literally just made me think about you and whatnot. It was a horrible emotional mess.
Yeah, boy.
So I guess my opinion on that is don't force it. Like don't force it, because I think that's what I tried to do, right? Mm-hmm. I tried to force it, and then I realized I wasn't feeling it.
Oh yeah.
I realized that I really wasn't feeling it, and that made me more frustrated. Like I knew that this is what I should be working on, but as creators, we're all about what we feel.
Yeah, our emotions are heavily
and whatnot. It's heavily influenced. So I literally just had to take a step back. I had to take a step back from writing. I had to take a step back from doing stories and whatnot. I just didn't feel confident. I literally felt like I lost someone that was like very important to me back then. Okay, I'll say it this way, because back then that's what I believed. I felt like I lost a half of me and whatnot, because that's what I put on her, and that was selfish of me. I now realize that that other half of me isn't within another person, it's within me. What I have to find myself, and that literally comes with reconnecting with my inner child.
Yeah.
But yeah, that that took a while for me to definitely come to that. But it was better when I wasn't forcing myself to try to create.
Yeah, and I would say that a lot of people, the whole thing is to look for your other half. But if you're always like trying to find your other half in someone, they'll let you down. Because to be honest, you're not looking for your other half of them. You're looking for your other half of you. You expect them to be like you or to do what you expect your other half to do, you know? And they're not no one's ever gonna live up to the expectations that your imaginary expectations of them.
Right.
To be honest.
I was totally expecting for you to, continue that on
Well,
your creative standpoint,
I'm
and you
about
just
to.
went to. But no, that was dope though. That was dope. I really appreciate what you said. You just went into like relationship advice.
There we go. You see, yeah, you see the expectation right there. Like, surprise. Oops. But oops. But no, yeah. It took me going to find myself and figure out as a creative who I was to become whole within myself, and then ultimately us as two mostly whole people coming back together.
Yeah,
we figured out who we wanted us to be together, and it's like
because when I and then, okay. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
During that time, I had left. It was a really hard decision. It wasn't easy at all, and the biggest reason I would leave was because I felt stunted as a person. I felt like there was no growth on my half. And stupidly me thinking that I could find growth with somebody else. No, that's never the case. It's never the case. I didn't want to stop creating, but I definitely couldn't create on the stories that we had together. Dare the World, Midnight My Baby, I couldn't work on it for a bit. I wanted to, and I tried to force it, and I hate everything I came up with. So I picked up a new project thinking that this other person would want to work on me with. Did not work on me with whatsoever. Took some of my ideas though. Won't let that go. But in the end, the story became my own passion project of just me falling back in love with creating again and figuring out who I am as Anna, the writer and artist. Because I used you as a crutch for a long time. I used Neff as a crutch. Like, oh, I don't have to worry about writing. Neff's gonna do all the writing. It doesn't matter how badly this is. Neff will clean it up. That was a big thing that I thought for a while. So breaking away, I went back to my roots of creating entirely by myself, figuring out what am I really good at, what do I want to be good at, what are things that I don't have to be good at, like I can just do and still have fun with, I wanted to find the fun in creating, because creating, especially after the Infernal Paradise thing, which was it's its own event, definitely weighed down in me as a creator. I wish I could do more. I was trying to figure out why I was at the age of 24 at the time. I don't know, 22, 23. Why I still wasn't a good artist.
Infernal Paradise? I definitely don't think you were 22.
It had to be like 20, maybe 24, 25.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it was like 4 years ago, then, it was like 20, 26, whatever. Whatever, math. See, I hate it. I was trying to figure out with all these new creators I was meeting and just artists in general, and getting on Facebook and connecting and finally jumping back into the field of discovering artists. Why wasn't I getting good? Why wasn't I getting better? Why was my art still like this? Why, references. I was trying to do references, and our roommate, which was one of the people that we, was in the group originally, one of the creators that shared the universe with, saw me using a reference, and literally I'm using a reference, and he stops and says, oh, but I mean, that's not really yours, you're using a reference. Crushed me. I was using Anita Blake to help me draw a style or something, or to figure out some cool pose that I wanted for Midnight. And so I'm gonna be honest. I put a screen over the paper, and I drew hand gestures. I drew a circle where the head would be. I drew the circle for the shoulders. I was learning how to use the shapes to create a skeleton. And he saw me doing that, and he walked past again, and he pretty much just said right then and there, yeah, but you just use a reference, it's not really yours. And that hurt. That hurt a lot, because it was still during that time where references were told that you're not really good if you can't eyeball it.
I mean, that's what I believe. I literally thought every good artist could just, just come up with stuff from off their head or whatever.
Yeah, I really thought that made me a bad artist.
Like using references, like, I mean, I literally seen people get like a crow, right? A picture of a crow, and just literally put it there and just trace over it.
Yeah.
Trace over the image of the crow and
Stock
whatnot.
photos,
And I thought that, that was a bad thing, but realizing now, like, and it's still controversy on that too. Maybe we can do a video later on.
I really want to. I really
do. Because some people still feel like you're kind of stealing it, but in reality, you are drawing it yourself. You're just using a reference.
Yeah, I could definitely tell you
it's
that.
Not as if you're like actually taking the picture and putting that picture
and then
that photo inside of it and whatnot, and you're just altering it. Then no, that's completely different.
Yeah, the digital wave of art has really kind of blurred the lines between what's okay to do, what's not.
Yeah, definitely.
But I mean, all in all, if you're learning from it, I say you're okay. It's like that's what I did during that time. I learned who I was as a creator, and I realized that I love creating.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't matter who I was with, but it also did matter because I loved creating the most with you.
Right.
And I mean that ultimately led us to coming us back together. When we talked to each other on the phone, it was like maybe for a moment things were okay again.
For me, it was definitely it was a big hit. Like I said, it was a big hit to my creativity. Me wanting to create, and I still didn't look at myself as an artist anymore at that time. So I did go out and I did, was looking to work with other artists. One of them, my close friend, Meto Nim, and they were really helpful. By helpful, harsh, with the truth, and were telling me what I very much needed to hear.
Yeah.
Because like everything that we talked about on this episode, where me and Midnight, we get on each other's nerves and whatnot, and we making sure that we kind of keep raising that bar and whatnot, and not falling short, and just doing half a attempts. That came after the breakup.
Yeah.
For the most part, like before, there was really our growth had kind of became stunted.
Yeah.
And whatnot. Like I really wasn't getting like the talks that I needed to better myself as a writer from you and whatnot. So I'm over here like kind of like with the stuff that I had before, the content that I had before, and I'm showing my artist friend, and and they're just like, yo, this is pretty bad. Like it's no cut cards with them, and I hate/love people like that.
Yeah, I want to say,
but I definitely needed that.
Yeah,
because another friend that also is going to be on the show. They were pretty much the same way. Like they were pretty much the same way, and so like to make a long story short, they was like take what you had that you created with Midnight and burn it and start back over. And so one thing that I wanted to add is I became from the ashes. I became like a better writer. I got Andrea's Week, which is definitely what we're going to be sharing with y'all in the future. We already started it with a couple of short comics, and you came up with your comic Starstruck from it. So it was definitely good things that came from it, and we learned a lot
about ourselves. And when you learn a lot about yourselves, you learn a lot
about ourselves and whatnot. So we weren't even really the same people when we got back together.
Yeah. I mean, I want to say also, during that time apart, when I tried to find a team with the person I had was trying to date at the time, and then they were just like, they fell through completely. Took me to a college professor who tore into everything I knew and to everybody that I created. Nev hates that because
don't do that. Don't do that.
He made me cry.
Can I say the reason why college professors shouldn't do that?
I mean, you're not supposed.
One, because you weren't his student.
Yeah, I was.
So he didn't even know you.
Yeah.
And whatnot.
Tore into.
He didn't even know you.
Cry, and then gave me some advice, but definitely tore down first a lot.
Right. the thing about it is not everyone is made equal.
Yeah.
Like one thing I definitely want to say about you is you're very headstrong.
Yeah.
Like and stubborn. Like you took that and like you said, it hurt.
Yeah.
It hurt a lot.
Hurt a lot. I still
but you got back up and you moved forward. Not everyone does that. And whatnot.
I didn't use it as
and
like
there was no guarantee, like
either.
that dude even knew that was going to be the case for you. Like
sure
you could have just failed and just been like, screw it, I'm just gonna go to the corporate world and whatnot. And not saying like anything like wrong with that. Like we know a lot of friends that dropped their art work and just got jobs, just got 9 to 5 and whatnot. I mean, I won't say that there's nothing wrong with it. It's like we understand.
Yeah.
We understand.
Yeah, because this world is, it's...
And whatnot. Like, I tell people, like, this is my career, like being a writer, but I do have a job, a full-time job and whatnot, and I try to do as much as I can in my free time and on their time towards my career and whatnot. It's not the same for everyone and whatnot. I won't say that that's, I understand. I won't say it's good or bad. It's just we understand. But yeah, he didn't know for sure that you was gonna come back from that,
no,
and you so that definitely isn't good. For anybody who considers themselves as a teacher of art.
Yeah.
Like their whole thing should be like building up. That should be their whole purpose.
Like the whole bashing of the anime and not being a actual like good genre to be in, and nobody really cares about it. It's not really like over on the like that's just your opinion. I asked for your constructive like teacherly criticism, but I didn't ask for your opinion on what's like financially successful here. Like, because I didn't tell him what I was trying to do at the time. I didn't know what I was trying to do. I just wanted to learn how to start from the beginning, and he gave me that advice, gave me some books, but ultimately, I'm just gonna say this now, as the type of person that I am, I've already been through several fires that I've started. Like, I am the type of person that can be given the best advice and then will light that advice on fire and then jump through it and then just work through the pain. I'm dumb. That teacher, when he did that, it was like I already got enough burn marks, dude. Like, it's fine. I cried it out. I'm good. I'm gonna keep jumping through this fire. I took his advice, but I look back now and I wouldn't. That was really stupid of the person I was with to recommend me to the most assholish teacher ever, because that was his mantra too. Was very much like, oh yeah, you're not gonna learn until someone shits on you. I'm sorry, I don't know if we're cursing in this, but
I mean, we've cursed before.
Yeah, that's not true. You can totally learn without getting burned. You can totally learn without someone tearing you apart, thinking that they're giving you tough love or treating you like this world's gonna treat you. No, that's just the world that they live in, and they want to take it out on somebody. More than likely, always the case. When someone wants you to go through the fires that they went through, it's because they went through the fires and they just want someone else to suffer too. Like, if one of my biggest passions is I'm never really gonna stop doing comics, but once I like retire from running a business, comic business, I want to run a book, an art studio, cafe, library. It's the biggest dream I want to do, and I want to do art lessons. And I'm gonna learn from that guy that I'm not gonna teach that way, and you're gonna get it if you want to get it. That's the way I learn. I wanted to learn it. You're gonna learn it. I'm not gonna shove it through you. I'm not gonna tear you apart. And there's a lot of people who probably can learn better that way.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Sure.
So yeah, we coming to the end of this episode.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you guys learned a hell of a lot about us.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. I just want to say, very interesting doing this. Doing an episode without MDC, because MDC has been with us since the get-go.
I keep looking over at the sofa.
Not calling him out. Is definitely weird, because I did wonder, like, man, can we continue a conversation for a full episode just between the two of us?
It's like we always do, though.
Yeah, definitely.
We're literally,
like, this is literally us in the car.
Yeah, us in the car.
going to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Our grocery store is really far away, guys. But
we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
And Neff, no, I can. There's no pause button sometimes. Sometimes he wishes there was.
So it definitely with the I definitely hope like you guys got some stuff, got some information, some value from this episode
I mean,
and whatnot.
I enjoy talking about it too.
Yeah, like like it's cool. I guess the end thing for me, I want to say it's cool.
It's cool.
Of course, being married to my best friend, but that person also being a creator that definitely pushes me to create, and I do the same for her. I want to say for any creators out there, I recommend that is being with another creator and whatnot.
It's great because they
I've just seen situations with people that don't create or that don't want to give into that part of themselves, and it's just like they're just trying to trap you like
I've actually seen it
they try to trap you and literally stop you from creating, and that's something that you don't that's something that you don't want. You just want someone that can just geek out with you on whatever creating that y'all into.
I mean, even if they're not a creator, but they're like a consumer
it's hard
of your
and it
creations.
has its difficulties, but I definitely support it.
Yeah.
Find yourself a creator.
Or someone who consumes your creations.
And that creates too.
Yeah, I mean, definitely that creates as well. I mean,
so the biggest thing is like creating, right?
Yeah.
Creating, I don't know. I had this conversation. I'm not gonna get into it. But I had this conversation with a friend about them being a creator, and the person that they with is just ultimately just a consumer. Like they just consume.
Okay, no, that's not the same as
everything.
Yeah, no, not that.
So it's like
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. In the end.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely amazing for us. I mean, for me, I love having you there.
Definitely consuming and supporting you.
Yeah.
Because
I
also have seen.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Because I have seen people that were both creators, but one of them don't create their significant others creations, like doesn't support it all. So it's like
I've seen that.
No,
won't even share.
I totally agree with you on that.
A creative space together.
Yeah, and whatnot.
It's definitely important that you guys are passionate about each other's creations, even if you're not fully invested. Like, I'm gonna sit here and work on this with you. But
medium,
Definitely.
definitely.
It's great. I love it.
So
happy Valentine's Day, y'all.
Yes, happy Valentine's Day. Because that's the day that it is.
Yeah, get your smoochies on.
So
draw some sexy wife.
Also, shout out to everyone who going to CasaCon on the East Coast.
I know.
Whatnot, a lot of our friends are going.
Yeah, so take me with you.
definitely shout out to that.
You'll
definitely,
see us
we
there.
love that we've been there. No, you don't want.
Yeah.
We've been there.
No, I mean you'll see us there eventually. Like
at a table. Yeah, definitely. That's
goals. We're not gonna waste our money.
Like I'm not.
Like, I would. I still totally. If you got a hotel room and you want someone to party, I would drop. I wouldn't. I'm sorry. If I'm working on something, I won't.
I got work.
Yeah, I got work.
But
kids. We got kids.
If you found this episode valuable or entertaining, give us a thumbs up. Follow us on social media.
Share. Any other creators.
Don't forget to comment and subscribe.
Yeah,
we appreciate the love. We appreciate we appreciate the support. We appreciate everything.
We love y'all. You guys are like, I don't know, all the feedback, everything. It's amazing. It's great. It's nice to know that this is content. We're creating content that you guys consume.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Until next time. Peace. Is that what we say?
It will usually
I make a noise or something.
It's your boy Neff.
Oh, that's right. And Mitty.
Peace.
Yo.